Hello and welcome back. I'm Mike from the Rewatch Project and ChinStroker versus Punter podcast, and I am a lifelong Trekkie watching Doctor Who for the first time. I'm very happy to be moving on to my second series, I guess, or second chapter, or second anthology, whatever the terminology is, of Doctor Who, namely the Daleks. I'll be watching the first episode of that series right now. A couple of quick bits of housekeeping. First of all, really appreciate all the comments that have been coming in. Please do like and subscribe and comment on the YouTube channel. A lot of comments on there. I'm going to try and work through them. I've been very busy and reply to as many of those as I can, but it's been really helpful. Apologies for the change in environment and the rather intrusive blur in the background here. I have been, as I say, super busy, so I've got into work early today and I'm recording before I start work. But I wanted to blur the background because it wasn't my usual environment, so hopefully we will be back to normal in the next episode. And also apologies for any outside noise. I do have slightly less control over my environment than normal. But anyway, enough of this. We're here, we're at the Daleks, it's 1963, it's William Hartnell. Let's see what is going on. I'm going to hit play now and watch this episode of Doctor Who. Yes, once again, we're seeing the very end of the previous episode as a way of previously on-ing. This is the beginning of our second adventure. Dead planets. Thank you, by the way, to the feedbackers who pointed out that the series names, so for example, An Unearthly Child and this being the Daleks, were, I believe, fan created, and that the episodes just had titles, and that this whole sort of formally grouping them as these sort of four-part or so anthologies was somewhat of a retroactive thing. So, this is all really interesting stuff to learn.
It's all turned to sand and ashes.
Yeah.
Extraordinary.
What has happened here, I wonder?
How can shrubs or trees grow in soil like that?
That's what I love about the 60s, when our heroes wore cardigans.
Well, look at the branches and things.
I don't know, but I intend to find out.
Not arguing as much as in the last episode. Bit more of a cohesive unit so far.
Well, why doesn't he take us back?
I'm not sure that he can.
What, ever?
Lost in time.
Don't you ever think he deserves something to happen to him?
Yes.
Wow. Bit of chemistry between the two of them, maybe? Am I just imagining that because I've been programmed by genre? Blimey. It's a bug-eyed monster.
No, I tell you, this is an entirely different formation.
I wonder if the Doctor's sternness is perhaps a reflection of the way that teachers were viewed, because we've got these younger, kind of groovy teachers, as groovy as somebody wearing a cardigan can be. And if you look at Doctor Who as being educational, then the role of the Doctor is this paternal or grand paternal figure, educating and being a guide with all of the eccentricity and Pied Piper isms, but also somewhat of a figure of fear that teachers certainly seemed to be when I was growing up in the 70s, and I would imagine even more so in the 60s. So I wonder if there's a little bit of that going on here.
I shall say together by a magnetic field.
Einsteinian looking.
Magnetic field, rather.
We're not on Earth, then?
No, certainly not.
They're dealing with that very well.
Are you sure?
Oh, certain. And you need to look at me like that, young man. We started this journey far too hurriedly to make any calculations.
Space race was going on right now in the real world.
However,
Just gearing up. And it's interesting as well, I guess, the contrast of Susan and Barbara as well, because Barbara's, there's a sadness and a fatigue to her, whereas Susan is just pure openness to all of these, wonders, both beautiful and gross, that are potentially awaiting them.
To things I recognize and trust. Oh, well, he likes to work on his own. So I've noticed. Anyway, he's only got to do some...
It's interesting, this idea of the Doctor collecting people and being the reluctancy of having companions.
How all this happened?
Barbara! Doctor! Over here!
Great facial expressions from Hartnell.
We really must get that.
It's interesting because I think to a lot of modern audiences, you might think that Hartnell's not doing very much, but he is. There is definitely thought behind the face here, and I think that that's really easy to miss and underestimate. And I'm noticing here we're getting our first science fiction vista as well, which is kind of cool. Look at that.
What's flashing?
Well, Doctor, can you see anything? Any sign of life?
No sign of life.
Ooh, bit of steampunk technology here.
Building.
I like the contrast between the two first stories, you know, the one extreme being, you know, the cavemen, very historical.
What do you think, Doctor?
And here we are now in pure science fiction.
Was destroyed.
We're going back to the ship.
Now don't be ridiculous.
Dangerous curiosity. He's a troublemaker.
Subject for study.
Yes, whatever you decide is too late.
See, look at Hartnell's face here.
Yes, all right then.
Look at him thinking.
Determined to study that place.
You do what you like.
He's an obsessive and he's not going to let it go.
The rest of us.
He's addicted to knowledge. It's
You're the
hubris.
only one who can operate the ship. I'm afraid I can't let you do that, Doctor.
Thinly veiled threat from Ian the cardigan wearer there. I guess the animosity hasn't left. You see, that looks good. That's a good looking effect shot.
I think this is the way we came.
Careful with the local plant life and fauna. Oh, strange things are afoot on the dead planet. So I'm guessing Susan's going to get herself into lots of pickles on this show. Great screen queen as well. I mean, I kind of make jokes about, you know, how times have changed and the role of women in science fiction. But it's got to be said she's good at it. You know, if she was hired for her kind of plucky, open-heartedness in her performance, she's also great at screaming and becoming hysterical. So whilst those elements obviously have aged, I don't think we should throw the baby out with the bathwater here and completely dismiss this, because she's really good at doing it, you know, for better or for worse. Love this.
Would you have
Great bit of business, great posture.
Of course I will.
Yes.
Well, what are you doing? Just drawing?
I like that we're spending a bit of time in the TARDIS.
What happened out there?
I mean, they built the set, so, you know, it's worth using.
Nothing. Not for the moment.
What's this one for?
I mean, I wonder if the whole granddaughter thing is just because of... It's a shorthand, maybe, because obviously, you know, somebody of Hartnell's age travelling with a female character of that age, you know, could be viewed, I guess, with suspicion or questions. So, you know, that is interesting. So, and so far, also so much of this is about the relationship, or seems to be about the relationship between students and teachers, and the thirst for knowledge and the cost of knowledge. So, there's quite a lot going on under the hood here.
What are we going to do? Can we live here? What do we eat? There are millions of questions.
They're good questions.
Terrible headache.
Oh, dear, how irksome for you. Oh, well, this stuff is very good. This should cure it. Now, not too much. Yes, certainly. J62.
Has he got a replicator?
6, 2,
L6.
Star Trek brain,
6.
you see. It's like airline food.
Flavors are rather like primary colours, you know. You blend two to achieve a third and so on, etc., etc.
Well, I think it's
So this is the kind of minutiae I'm here
Oh, it's
for.
much better. I don't usually get them at all.
Not caveman politics.
No, thanks. I'm not hungry.
Oh, Charles, that's unusual. I do hope your effects outside the ship hasn't affected you too much.
No, I think
Ooh,
I'm going to
bit of a line flub.
Right.
Hand wave.
Oh, yes.
It's a miracle to get anything right on this.
What's that?
The scanner.
There was somebody there.
Yeah, don't let them gaslight you, Susan. There's a lot of gaslighting going on in this episode, actually.
Why?
I would not be questioned.
Oh,
Uninvited passengers.
very terse.
Invite them to the ship.
You see this, look, this is where I've paused here. I mean, that's Hartnell to me. That's what he does so well. You know, bringing so much kind of energy and quirky persona and great open-faced close-up television acting. You know, this new art of television acting. It's he's really good. That control panel on the TARDIS is so awesome. Combination of the sound and the middle column. Just chef's kiss to the designer there. It's got a primal appeal like the nacelles on the Enterprise or the radar on the Millennium Falcon.
Next forest I walk through.
What's wrong?
I'm guessing the TARDIS going haywire is going to be a recurring theme here.
Yes, I think you'd better, Charles.
But you must have some somewhere, surely.
No, we shall have to get some from outside.
Where? There isn't anything.
Where are we going to get the plutonium from, Doc, to get the 1.21 gigawatts to get it to... we're seeing a lot. I mean, I guess, you know, Who being a time travel series in the early 60s, I'm expecting to see quite a lot of science fiction tropes established or at least popularised here. So, I think it's probably going to be the first of many.
Side, but this...
First light, then?
Almost looks at the camera there. Bringing the audience in. That's a great thing about Hartnell's. Right up on the camera.
Might as well get started. We're going to this city to find Mercury. And once we've found it, we're coming straight back here. Is that clear?
Oh, quite so, quite so.
See, he just can't help himself, can he? He's like the naughty grandparent who slips your money without your parents knowing. You know, with a wink.
Well, shall I lead?
Yes, by all means.
I think it's all right.
Put my face right up against it.
You ready, Susan?
Like the Picard
Come on, then.
manoeuvre, the tunic tug. Gives him a good kind of condescending, austere, intellectual look as well. Wow. Nice set with a backdrop there. Pretty good looking. And also after the darkness, so much of the last episode was at night and in caves. It's really nice to see things becoming brighter and more expansive. Just a potential variety of settings.
A bit tired. It was a long journey and my legs are rather weak.
The sky's the limit, isn't it, with this show?
Ian and I will...
There's a bit of forced perspective there. Doing a lot with little. Oh, that's got a bit of a
Let's try this one.
Dalek-y vibe about it. Nice. Dutch angles, very Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. You know you're in futuristic sci-fi territory when there's slidey doors. Again, you can almost see the influences of this, or I guess the style of this cascading down to things like Alien. You know, the sneaking around corridors, are we being stalked? Mysterious sci-fi, the horror elements of Who that would be so ubiquitous, particularly during the Tom Baker years. From memory, I say this, of course. You know, the whole hiding behind the sofa thing. So, Doc's not looking too well. Maybe too much radiation. The featureless corridor really is a great gift for production designers when it comes to reusing shoot from a different angle. But, you know, when you've had that great exterior shot, so to your child mind, you know, in 1963, this is a huge cavernous environment. This is pretty tense. Very effectively staged. And such a small frame as well, being able to create that tension. Oh, here we go. Here we go. It's like a slasher movie. Oh yeah, now we're talking. Okay. So we're definitely in science fiction territory here. We've had this, unbeknownst to audiences at the time, POV introduction to the Daleks. This was a great episode. A lot of the tensions from the previous episode were brought back over again. This idea of the hubristic Doctor, his lack of patience with those who don't share his thirst for knowledge and his vision. But also a little bit of lightness and interplay between the characters as well. I like the fact that we spend more time on the TARDIS, so we get more of a sense of the technology and I guess the kind of the mythology, the tapestry of the universe. This definitely shows the elasticity of the concept, probably one of the most elastic concepts ever created, really. The fact that we've had this very extreme time travel of the first episode, contrasted with the miniatures and the back-painted vistas of this science fiction city as well. And also, Hartnell really comes to the fore in this episode, the fact that, television's all about the close-up as opposed to theatre, which is all about projection and filling a room. The way that you'll have a character talking, but you'll have Hartnell closer to the camera kind of regarding the audience. And it does feel a little bit like there's a complicity, even when his character is being demonstrating hubris and demonstrating impatience and selfishness and these negative traits. I think the fact that we understand this figure of the wise, the grandfather or the educator or the scientist, whether that's your literally your grandparent or your teacher or a figure like Einstein. And I think that children are drawn to figures like that as well. We've talked about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the character of Willy Wonka, which somebody pointed out, I think actually came out after this. So Roald Dahl, again, thank you to those on the comments page for bringing my attention to the chronology of these things. I think that often having him close to the camera does feel like he's inviting you into this world. So really good stuff. And also some of the tension, some of the staging of the lurking around the corridors that would become, ubiquitous in films like Alien and The Thing, and Star Trek would use that a lot as well. So, this is very much speaking my language. And some of those, those things around the practicality of how the show was filmed and edited kind of essentially live, so you still get the occasional flubs. But I think there's a kind of a charm to that as well. And really, it makes you realise how much of an achievement it is that they managed to get so much of it down perfect as they could, that it's really easy, as I say, to hand wave all of that stuff. So really looking forward to watching The Survivors. Really appreciate any commentary on the YouTube page. I'm loving having an education from Doctor Who fans. And I'm going to say, I've been involved in a lot of different fandoms over the years, and I've been really pleasantly surprised about how welcoming and kind and sharing the Doctor Who fan community is. The classic Who, I realise that there's a crossover, but there is somewhat of a distinction between the classic and the modern fandoms. It's been a really, really positive experience, so thank you so much. We've had listeners, or viewers, I should say, help promote these reaction videos on Doctor Who message boards. So anything that you can do to share the word would be really greatly appreciated. So I will be back very soon. Please do check out the Rewatch Project with Hannah and Mike, the podcast that's on this channel as well as my other show, ChinStroker versus Punter. But for now, that is it. And I will be back in a couple of days with The Survivors, the next episode of the Dalek arc.